As we approach the finish line for this brief flashback into Cross and Maru's past, as well as the ending of a very beloved character in such a short amount of time, Dora, which I have to appreciate the way that Akutami is able to gain so much notoriety for a character and have so many people jive with and appreciate the inclusion of someone, and then the moment that they get taken away, even though it was fairly obvious if you could see where this flashback was going that Dora was going to unfortunately end up dying, especially since we haven't seen him at all in the current timeline, it is not only sad to see him go, but showing how much love and care that Akutami has been putting into this story. On top of everything else that we get in this chapter, lore-wise, we learn so much about the Sumerian people, not just about their third eye that we get a brief introduction of in the beginning of this chapter, understanding that the Sumerians' third eye is where they get most of their Roroka from, or otherwise a term used for cursed energy on their half, but I'm going to continue to use cursed energy because I'm not even going to attempt to butcher that term right now. It is also something that can cause them great pain and even death if they seem to have deep emotions and even cry from it. And while most Sumerians only cry from their third eye when they are born and also when they die, Lumerians are unfortunately able to cry when the Kallian beasts die. And when all of the Kallians were exterminated in all the other tribes and areas of Sumeria, it made a lot of Sumerians cry, which is dangerous because, again, it can cause brain damage and even kill you. Which gives us another underlying reason as to why the Lumerians would want to keep the Kallians alive, not only just around them, but in general. So not only can you see that, sure, this is our religion, this is our way of life, but also if these beasts are killed, a lot of us could also perish in the collateral damage. So it shows you another underlying reason as to why the Lumerians would want to keep the Kallians alive that may have never been revealed to the other tribes. You could consider that underhanded, sure, that, they prioritized more so their lives, but from a speech that we get from Dora here, we also learn a little bit more about the Descante tribe's secrets as well. Because with the reveal that the Descante chief's daughter has been eaten and mauled by a Kallian, we get the reveal that the Descante are looking for war. But the way that the Descante tribe do things is different than most other tribes, in which they are definitely going to conquer and invade the remaining Lumerian land. However, they wish to display a show of force and pursue a trial by combat in front of all the other tribes in order to let everyone know and see the strength, as that is what rules the authority on this planet. So with the duel being appointed and the Lumerians needing a champion to meet the Descante in battle, the Lumerians actually think they have a pretty good chance because Dora, of all people, is not only one of the strongest Lumerians that they have, but he also won one of these previous tournaments decades prior, before Maru and Cross were born, right before their village was destroyed, which is honestly kind of implying that the only reason the Lumerians even have this plot of land that they survived on, no matter how terrible it is to begin with, is because Dora fought and won against a Descantan war chief in order to actually, at the very least, keep his people alive, which not only makes it kind of crazy that these same people that are praising him for winning this tournament battle are the same people that were just talking shit about him for trying to build the canal previously and getting paid by the Descante. It shows you how quickly people are able to rally behind a cause when their environment shapes their perspective. When these people were down on their luck and had no reason to see the canal existing as a benefit, they were more than willing to talk crap about someone like Dora, who previously they were very gung-ho about. And now that Dora is a big figure again in the Lumerians, because finally he was able to convince these people to start building the canal and they saw how great it was and how much they benefited from, now he's back in public graces again. So not only is Akutami showing an understanding of just society in general, he also shows an understanding of conflicts between different societies and different cultures. This video is sponsored by GamerSupps, the ultimate energy and focus formula. Use my code NOOP now for 10% off, and thank you GamerSupps for sponsoring the channel. Because on the day of the battle, when Dora meets Dborah, who ends up being the champion of the Descante, not only do we see a completely other side of Dborah, this character who has presented himself once as this terrifying force of just aura and power, meeting him in chapter 2 and seeing just how terrifying he was, the pose he's taking in chapter 1 color page where he looks like a villain, everyone has compared him to Sukuna, we find out not only is Dborah a very valiant and honorable warrior, he's someone that trained with Dora long ago before the Lumerians and Descante separated, to the point that Dora even is aware of Dborah's family situation, and when asking about his sister and Dora looking to the side, Dora understands that Dborah doesn't even want to be doing this fight right now in the tournament, as Dborah even says, because he has his hands forced. He respects Dora as a person and a warrior, but on top of that, it seems like the Descante war chief have also been holding his family hostage in order to force him to do this. And even worse, what Dora reveals, because before battling, it seems like Dora knows he's going to lose. It says later on in the chapter that Dora was the only one that knew Dborah's true strength, because Dborah wasn't someone that ever liked to show off. So instead of getting upset, fighting hard, and fighting to the death, Dora does something that shows that his character has always been about progressing the future, letting the people and the next generation, Cross and Maru, and all of the people, the Lumerians that come after, live their best possible lives. And it's what Dora has always wanted and what he ever always wanted to achieve. You could argue this may be the way that he cleared that path for them, because instead of, again, fighting and risking everything to help his people by winning this trial by combat, he asks Dborah a favor and says, when you win, it doesn't matter how this ends, because at the end of the day, Lumerian and Descante and all the different tribes are always going to feel the way that they do. However, at the very least, please do me this one favor. And the one favor that we will find out later is very important to Dborah's character, and again shows that he is a very honorable person in general. But two, he also gets Dborah to give him a moment to give a speech to all of the tribes of Sumeria. And in this speech, he reveals that the actual reason why the tribes were split apart and segregated so long ago, all these 10 years ago, was because the Descante people were actually interfering with Muru mines. And for a quick explanation, Muru is essentially a stone that holds cursed energy, very pure essence of it, and by touching it you can not only amplify your own cursed energy and your own powers, but by stocking it and hoarding a lot of it, we even see later on in the chapter you can build entirely large constructs just with 1 or 2 people channeling and harmonizing with that energy. And a lot of people in the crowd even mention that it makes sense why the Descante have become so powerful, especially since that time where they raided the Muru mines of the Lumerians and pushed them into their own place. And Dora even suggests that it's quite possible that may be exactly what's even happening here. They may have staged this whole event to have the Descante daughter killed simply because they want a reason to take over the canal and find potential Muru mines that are in that area. As Dora mentions, you can claim that it's a religious war all you want and claim that you're trying to take us out because our Callians are dangerous beasts and we refuse to get rid of them, but the truth is, our religion is a way of peace. Our religion is a way of coexistence. We're not asking you to accept the Callians, we're asking you to accept the way of life that we wish to uphold, which is to respect these beasts for who they are. Honestly, you guys are actually just taking advantage of that and using it to your benefit to make all the other tribes blind to what you're actually doing. Because if all the other tribes knew that you were invading Lumerian land to steal resources from them, you would look really bad in front of all the other Sumerian tribes. However, if you claim that it's a holy reason and that we have to get rid of these Lumerians because they're refusing to, budge and, they're refusing to get rid of these Callians. And sure, again, you could argue that the Lumerians were, in a way, being somewhat selfish because not only did they want to uphold the Callian beasts' livelihoods for the religion, they also wanted to do it because a lot of them would die if the Callians were exterminated in their areas. On top of that, the Descante aren't exactly clean either, because as we even get mentioned in the beginning of this chapter, when this duel is set up in current day, the messenger even says it's very unlikely for a Callian to get a hold of a Descante chief's daughter, simply because not only are all the Callians already exterminated in Descante land, the only way that they would be in vulnerability to a Callian is if they brought them to Lumerian land and then had a Lumerian get a Callian and provoke the Callian into eating the daughter. So it's very clearly a staged attempt of them doing exactly what they did 10 years ago. But despite this, Dora says that that's not what he's here to say today, because not for nothing, that's just going to cause political turmoil, and having that truth revealed is just going to cause more chaos than it is good. even though it is the truth and even though it's what a lot of people probably need to hear, because a lot of people need to realize that the Discante, the leading tribe of all of this planet, are scumbags. But at the same time, Dora knows that what's more important here is trying to play on everyone's empathy and saying, hey, look, we are just people like you. We just want to live the best life that we can, and we will do whatever we can to coexist. We just need you guys to also accept our differences. We are willing to accept your differences, but you also need to be willing to accept ours. Again, coexistence is a play on both sides. You can argue day and night that the Lumerians are the minority and they should stick and uphold to the status quo of the planet, but it's also important to acknowledge that if we truly want real peace and we want to remove all possibility of conflict, just because the Discante are the ones that make the status quo doesn't mean that they don't have a right to say, hey, look, we accept your way of life and we won't push against your way of life either. Either way of how you feel about it, it shows that no side is the good side. It's a very nuanced take on this conflict that ends up pushing the Lumerians off their planet entirely, because obviously Dora loses this tournament battle. He knew he was going to lose, and even Dborah was holding back during the fight, something that very much upsets Maru. But Dborah, again, showing a little bit more of his soft, more, polite side, says that he held back not because he disrespected and did not like Dora as a warrior, but because he didn't want to ruin Dora's face so that way he could have a proper burial and funeral. Which is just insane, man. What a good guy. For someone that has constantly been compared to Sukuna and has been said to be this, like, the new demon enemy, it's very clear that Dborah might not be a villain at all. Dborah, if anything, is a powerhouse of nature, sure, and we may end up having to face off against him at some point in time in the future of the story. However, I don't think someone that's this good-natured is really going to be a main antagonist for this story. Something tells me that not only with coexistence being an important theme of everything, there's going to be, as Dora says, something that is able to grant the Sumerians that have came to Earth and the Earthlings, the humanity that has always been there, a reason to see common goal and work towards that common goal together, potentially against an antagonist that neither of them would be able to handle alone. After the duel is lost, the remaining Lumerians know that on the land that they're on, it's going to be conquered by the Discante tribe by morning. So if they stay there, they're just going to get killed and rolled over. So they either evacuate and try to find some other land that is uninhabited and maybe just save as many women and children as they can, or they all die fighting and face off against the Discante like warriors. But Jabaloma correctly tells them that warriors going out and dying in a blaze of glory is great and all, but the real main point of warriors is to remain by the side of the people that need to be protected. Sure, if all the warriors want to go out and die in a war with the Discante that they're all going to guaranteed lose, that's fine, but just remember that you are going to be abandoning all of the innocent people that you are now leaving off to evacuate. And in this terrible situation, as everyone is just trying to figure out what the right thing to do is, they realize that no help is coming whatsoever either. Even though Dora tried to lend the ear of all the other tribes and just say, hey, please accept us, do something for us, it's very clear that no one is going to step in against the Discante, and they basically have no choice in this matter. At least that is until Dborah shows up, much to their upsetment, not like they want to see the person that killed the idol of everything that they wanted and hoped and dreamed of. However, Dborah says that the second favor, or at least the first one, that Dora had asked of him before dying was to please protect the Lumerian people and do everything you can to save them and put them on the right path. So what he does is he reveals the Muru mines that Dora has been hiding from everyone. Back when they first started the canal, if you remember, Dora specifically told Cross and Maru to avoid these rocks specifically, don't touch them. And all of these rocks were Muru rocks that Dora was planning to use to just give to Lumerians and have the citizens and the society thrive once everything was in the right place for it. And even though we never really got to that point due to, unfortunately, the greed of the Discante, it doesn't have to all be for nothing, all this work that we did. Cross says that it might have been for nothing, but at least this is amazing. But Maru, who clearly has inherited the will of Dora, the belief system that we can coexist and coexistence is possible, says, no, you're not looking at this right. And as he takes Cross's hand and their cursed energy gets amplified by the Muru stones, even Jabaloma admits that this is the most pure Muru he has ever seen in his entire life, as just the two brothers together, wielding their power, are able to construct the spaceship that we see carry the 50,000 Sumerians to Earth, as Maru, most likely using his curse technique, which allows him to harmonize and connect with other synchronizations that are close to his, is able to tell that there is a world out there that is similar to them, that also has cursed energy, Earth. We know that Modulo is happening now, so we already know that. However, what this does explain is why there's 50,000 Sumerians looking to immigrate from their home planet to a new one. Not all of the Sumerians are leaving the planet, and it seems like nothing crazy has happened to their planet, at least yet. I've seen theories that a lot of people think that the remaining Sumerians are going to come chase after us, and those are going to be the main antagonistic threat of the series. But what this chapter really shows to us is how nuanced that Akutami's writing is. And I know that there's been so many different comments about, you know, whatever side of the political spectrum that you're on, or people comparing the Discante, or people comparing the Lumerians to real world people. And I think the main message of all of this that Akutami is trying to get across, especially with the speech that Dora gives, revealing that no side is really perfect and no side is in the right here. No matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter what kind of people you are, we all truly, sometimes at the end of the day, believe we're doing the right thing. Most of us. There are always going to be people, no matter who you are and who you come from, that want to use greed and their power to take what is not theirs, and they don't care who they have to step on to get there. That's not a ingrained thing in any human being. It's something that is, some people are good, some people are bad, and that's even something that's said earlier on by Maru themselves. You know, they're always going to have people that are good people and people that are bad people, no matter who you are. And I think this chapter not only shows that, and shows that Akutami isn't afraid to cover both sides and cover the nuance of both sides, but also that whatever is building on in this story is going to go so much further than just alien politics and coexistence. While that is a theme that Akutami is going to be hitting, I am most excited to see what the threat is that is going to bring the humans and the remaining Lumerians together. Because now that we've got the full story, how are we going to continue this conversation with Cross and Yuka? How are we going to continue this story, and where are we even going to go from here, knowing that there are at least, bare minimum, 2 more volumes left to go? And guys, just know that I will be there every step of the way, because unlike what you may see, I've been messing and fucking with every single chapter that has come out more and more. I am happy to see Akutami back in his prime, and I cannot wait to see what else is in store for this story, as well as go on this journey with you guys. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any future Modulo videos, because I do cover more than just chapter reviews. Don't be afraid to look on the channel and check out any other series or videos that you might find interesting, as well as don't forget there is a main channel, a gaming channel, and a storytime channel. And guys, I love you, appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.